Taking advantage of the moment, Morris picked up not one, but 2 spoons and hid one in his pocket. Then he went straight back to his cell. That night, English came to give him a book, and Morris asked if there was any welding equipment around. English immediately understood that Morris still had the thought of escaping on his mind. He said, "I already told you, your plan will fail because you will be caught and maybe even lose your life. In all these years, I never thought of escaping because I know it's impossible. But if you are stubborn, what can I do? Go ahead and try." Morris didn't care about his warning. The next day, he asked Litmus for some matches and said, "If you help me, I'll give your mouse my food every day." Litmus happily agreed because he loved that mouse. That night, Litmus secretly passed the matches to Morris. Morris removed a handle from a nail cutter because he was planning to make a small shovel. He broke the spoon and attached it to the nail cutter's handle. Then he used the match fire to weld both pieces together, creating a sharp little tool. That's when he began digging around the vent. Charlie stood guard, ready to whistle if any officer came by. But while watching, Charlie dozed off, and that's when a guard showed up. Luckily, English appeared just in time and distracted the guard. Hearing English's voice, Charlie woke up but panicked so much that he forgot to whistle. Instead, he dropped something, and Morris understood the signal, covered the vent, and lay down on his bed. The guard asked, "Why do I smell something burning here?" Morris replied, "Sir, as long as you're here, who would dare to smoke? I don't smell anything." The guard felt proud that someone respected his presence. After he left, Morris continued removing the concrete around the vent. But then, he noticed screws inside the ventilation grill. To cut those, he would need a sharp metal tool. Whenever he got a chance to go outside, he quietly dumped the cement pieces far away. The next day, while doing carpenter work, Morris found a piece of metal sharp like a knife. Charlie said, "How will you pass the metal detector with that?" Morris smiled and said, "I'll handle it." When he reached the gate, the detector beeped. Morris had the metal in his hand. The guard asked, "Why are you carrying this?" Morris replied, "Sir, I thought I could use it to hang my clothes." The guard said, "Don't act smart, give it to me," and took the metal away. He checked Morris completely and let him go. But our guy was no fool. Morris had stolen 2 pieces of metal. One he gave up, and the other he had hidden in his shoe. With that sharp metal, he cut through the grill. Now it was time to fool the guards with fake heads. The 4 of them divided their work. Charlie asked the guard for some paint, saying he wanted to make art. The guard agreed and gave it to him. Morris ground the concrete dust from the hole into powder. John collected hair from the prison barber shop, and Clarence gathered old books from the library. Using water and old magazines, Morris began shaping a dummy head. He painted it, attached fake hair, and made it look completely real. He also made fake cardboard covers for the walls so no one could tell there was a hole. One night, Morris decided to climb up alone. He placed the fake head on his bed, covered it with a blanket up to the neck, and crawled out through the hole. Holding on to the pipes, he climbed slowly toward the roof. Meanwhile, Charlie stood guard outside. When Morris reached the roof, he saw a metal grill far above him. He couldn't jump that high. Just then, a guard came to Charlie and asked, "Why are you painting so late at night? And why did your friend Morris go to sleep so early?" Charlie said, "Sir, he was tired after a full day of carpentry work." Suddenly, the guard dropped his baton and bent down to pick it up. He noticed something odd about Morris's hair. Charlie started shaking in fear, thinking, "We're done for." The guard reached into Morris's cell and touched his hair. Then Morris said, "What happened, sir? Are my hair that beautiful?" Luckily, Morris had come back down and was lying there pretending to sleep. The next day, Morris told his friends that there was a way out on the roof, but it was covered by a metal grill placed too high. He said, "I need another hand to reach it." Then John said, "I have completely dug out my vent. I'll join you tonight. Together, we'll remove that grill." That night, Morris and John climbed through their vents and reached the roof. John lifted Morris so he could grab the metal grill. They realized it was welded tight, and the only way to cut it was with a drill. The next day, during music class, everyone was playing their instruments. That's when Morris noticed a small fan sitting nearby. An idea struck him. He thought he could turn that fan into a drill machine. He told Charlie, "Somehow hide that fan and bring it out." Charlie managed to hide it easily inside his instrument box. When he walked out, the guards checked the box but didn't notice the fan inside. Morris began working on the fan right away. After several hours, he finally converted it into a working drill. That night, Morris and Charlie climbed to the roof and started cutting the iron bars using the drill. The noise was loud and guards started walking toward the sound. But before they arrived, Morris managed to cut through one of the bars and stopped the drill. Hearing the silence, the guards ignored it and walked away. Now the four men had opened every possible escape route. They decided that on Tuesday night, they would break free from the world's most secure prison, Alcatraz, a place no one had ever escaped before. The next day, they met again inside the movie hall while others were watching a film. Using the loud movie sound to cover their voices, Morris asked John and Clarence, "Are your vents ready? And what about the raincoats for the tubes and life jackets?" They replied, "Everything is ready. Our dummy heads are perfect. We're just waiting for the right night." The following morning, during breakfast, Morris placed the flower that Dog had given him on the table. When the warden saw it, he walked over and crushed the flower in his hand. Litmus got furious because that flower was Dog's favorite, and Dog was already dead. Angry and heartbroken, Litmus attacked the warden, shouting, "You killed Dog, and now you can't even spare his memory." But before he could do more, he suddenly suffered a heart attack and collapsed on the floor. Morris was filled with rage against the warden. That night, the four friends decided to escape once and for all. Morris waited until midnight when the guard's watch would be weakest. Then English came to Morris's cell to hand him a few books. Morris said, "I want to shake your hand one last time." English understood immediately that Morris was going to make his move. Without saying a word, he quietly walked away. But then something happened that Morris never expected. The warden suddenly came to inspect his cell, as if someone had tipped him off. Morris panicked because months of planning could be ruined in seconds. The warden ordered a complete search. The guards checked every corner of Morris's cell. But Morris wasn't some ordinary prisoner with a half-baked plan. His setup was perfect, flawless. When a guard moved the suitcase that covered the vent hole, he still couldn't spot anything, because Morris had already made a fake cardboard wall, fitting it with precision. Finding nothing suspicious, the warden and the guards left. But one of the guards mentioned that Morris and Charlie talked all night. The warden said, "Fine, tomorrow, transfer Morris to another cell so they can't talk anymore." The next morning, during breakfast, Wolf started threatening Morris again. He said, "Tonight will be your last night." Morris smiled and said to his friends, "He's right. Tonight really will be my last night here." But later that day, Wolf attacked Morris with a knife. Before he could harm him, English stepped in and grabbed Wolf. English wanted to help Morris, whether the plan succeeded or not. He respected his courage and wanted to be part of his mission. That night, Morris, John, Clarence, and Charlie agreed to escape through their vents and meet on the roof. At first, Charlie was ready to join them, but once he returned to his cell, fear began to take over. Sitting alone, he decided to stay behind. Meanwhile, the other three crawled through their vents and reached the roof. They waited for Charlie for a long time, but when he didn't show up, they finally decided to leave without him. The three moved forward carefully, hiding from the searchlights. Charlie sat alone in his cell, watching his dream of freedom fade away. The three men reached the edge of the building, staying out of sight. Then suddenly, Charlie gathered his courage. He decided to go after them. He climbed through the vent and made it to the roof. But by then, it was too late. He couldn't reach the top hatch alone. His fear had already cost him his only chance at freedom. Meanwhile, the other three climbed down the pipes, quietly landing on the ground. They slipped past the guards and reached the final fence. One by one, they climbed over and escaped the prison walls. They ran as fast as they could until they reached the ocean shore. There, they pulled out the raincoats and started blowing air into them to make their tube boat. It took a long time, but they had no other choice. They kept going until the raincoat raft was fully inflated. Then, they pushed it into the cold, dark water and rowed away from Alcatraz, leaving the world's most secure prison behind. The next morning, a guard began the daily cell check. At first, everything looked normal. But when he reached Charlie's cell, Charlie stood there like a ghost, filled with regret, whispering to himself, "If only I had been braver last night, I could have been free too." The guard asked, "Why is your friend still sleeping?" He walked into Morris's cell and called his name. When Morris didn't respond, the guard got angry and grabbed his hair to pull him up. But as he pulled, the head came off and fell to the floor. The guard froze in shock. Morris was gone. All he had left behind was the dummy head on his bed. Alarms started blaring across the prison. Everyone soon learned that 3 prisoners had escaped. The warden ordered a full search of every corner of the island. When they couldn't find them inside, he launched a search operation in the sea. The warden refused to believe they made it out alive. He thought they must have drowned in the cold water. But deep down, he knew those men were strong, determined, and smart enough to survive. As questions poured in from headquarters, the warden grew more nervous. Then he saw something on his desk that left him speechless. It was Doc's favorite flower, the same one Morris had placed on the breakfast table. That meant Morris had taken his revenge. Soon after, the search team reported, "Sir, we searched everywhere, but no bodies were found." To protect his job and his reputation, The warden ordered, "Write in the report that they tried to escape, but drowned in the sea." But no one really believed it. The truth was clear. Morris had done the impossible. He had escaped from Alcatraz. His name spread across the world as a genius who broke the unbreakable prison. A year later, the Alcatraz prison was permanently shut down, because after that escape, no one could guarantee that it was truly escape-proof anymore. And that's how this incredible true story came to an end.